Hello and welcome to On Air with Murali Nair and your producers, Lakshima and Tenzin. Your guest today is not a silent achiever. He's big in sports and music. He reigns supreme as a broadcaster based in Singapore. I'm honored to interview the man who has interviewed many, no less than FIFA World Cup champions like Pele, Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst, and Bobby Charlton, and artists like Andy Williams and Pat Boone. We bounced to Singapore to meet the one and only Brian Richmond. Brian, welcome to On Air.
Hey, so good to see you, Murali. You were, in fact, the script writer on a television program in Singapore. This was in the early 70s, a program called World of Sport. You were the script writer for that program, and the best, no less.
Brian, thanks for remembering that. But I trust you also remember we did a movie for the courtesy campaign in Singapore
Yes, we
called
did.
Candid Camera, and we had such a good time doing that.
Right. So many memories there, huh?
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful to recall all these times. Huh?
Yeah. Brian, you've been in the public eye for 6 decades, no less, I think. You're a household name. You're everybody's friend in a highly competitive business environment. How did you walk this path? Grounded, friendly, always smiling, and lending a helping hand so generously.
Well, I usually look at life on the positive side of things, you know, and that's how I like to reach out to people whom I even don't know. When I meet them for the first time, I link up with them, and I look at life positively. That's for sure, and I suppose that helps. Because if you are grumpy or whatever it is, people will turn away from you. Whereas I open my arms and welcome everyone.
Well, what a wonderful philosophy to have, Brian. Now, sports and music both propelled you to the center stage and kept you in the spotlight for several decades. My question is, and your viewers want to know, does music or sports come first, or do they run parallel?
Parallel, that's for sure. I enjoy sports as long as I can play, and I think it should be music.
Now, Brian, you've had the opportunity to meet some renowned personalities, both in the field of music, sports, and perhaps other fields as well. Now, do you recall anyone who stood out for his or her humanity?
Well, that is a tall order, but the significant ones would be Pele in football when he visited Singapore. I was given the opportunity of meeting up with him and interviewing him. And I think you'll see a picture of that. It was taken at the gardens of Shangri-La Hotel. It was his interpreter. And we sat, had a couple of drinks, and started talking about the good old days, how it all began for him, and really meeting up with Pele, and that was really an honor for me. And there were others. The captain of the England football team, Bobby Moore, who played left half for England, and they went on to win the 1966 World Cup. And in that team, there was also Bobby Charlton and Martin Peters, Gordon Banks. Oh, yes, wonderful memories. Although I wasn't at the match, but I did catch it on television, you know. And to see them and talk to them in person is a delight, really.
So I just want to go back to your interview with Pele because Pele, I mean, indulge me, he was also my favorite footballer and I think will always be. Now, he spoke in Portuguese or the Brazilian version of Portuguese, and
That's
you were
right.
speaking in English, and there was a translator that sort of bridged you and Pele. Now,
Yeah,
that's but both of you understood each other and had this very pleasant conversation, from what I gather.
yeah. Pele understood English, although he's not really very efficient in the language. But that's the reason why his interpreter was there with us. And he did a truly good job, of connecting us. And Pele understood what I was asking. And his reply was understood by me, thanks to his interpreter. So it went down well. It went down very well.
What was it that you sussed out of Pele? I mean, what made him such a great footballer and obviously such a loved person?
Yeah. He talked about his childhood years. And of course, we all wanted to know how it came about for him and the hardship that he went through, because he came through life in a very hard way, poor guy, uh, poor family, and things like that. And so it was very nice of him to very humbly tell us how things were for him growing up and all that, and then talking about the good old days and some of the best matches that he used to play and in the World Cup and things like that. Yes, I was all ears, bewildered. And then I remember watching Pele's live history in the theater. And so when Pele was talking about those days and all that, it was just running through my mind as we were talking, and it was wonderful, really.
So he came to life again in a sense when you were watching that movie.
That's right. Wonderful.
Brian, I want to draw you to the year 1966 for
Mhm.
two reasons. One was obviously England won the World Cup, and you've interviewed a number of those, at least three or four of those players who were in that
Yeah,
team that won the
yeah,
World Cup.
that's
But
right.
before I go there, Brian, I wanted to engage you on the fact that um, you were part of the Singapore youth football team, 1966, and you were a centre back. And it was said that nothing gets past Richmond.
That's right.
What earned you that tag, Brian?
Well, as I was sending pictures to you, then it came, that hardly anyone gets past this Richmond and all that, as a tongue in cheek. So, yeah, that was in the Philippines, the Asian Youth Championships. And the coach was Rahim Omar, legendary player for Singapore, Rahim Omar. And but unfortunately, we didn't do that well as expected.
It would have been a stiff competition, but I'm sure, and from what I've read of the reports, you excelled in that particular team,
Yeah,
in that particular tournament.
yes. But even more so in the following year, 67. That was the best that Singapore ever did, in this Asian Youth Championships, the finest team ever.
And you won the tournament, or you were just one of those gritty
In,
teams that stood
you
out?
know, every year we would be knocked out in the qualifying round. All right, we'll be knocked out. But in 67, we came out of our group stage, and we beat Japan, we beat Taiwan and India to qualify for the first time ever to get out of the group stage, and meet up with Thailand. And Thailand was the hot favorite. I was nominated as man of the match. I made 6 goal line saves.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was, for me, that was the best game that I ever played, ever. I had many good games, but that one against Thailand, and we beat them 1-0, and we went to the semi-finals. Can you beat that? Singapore youth team for the first time in the semi-finals. And then we met Burma, and that's where we lost. We lost to them. We were totally exhausted, but we tried our best. And we had the spirit of, the Malays will say, semangat macam api.
Yeah, that's what
Spirit,
you need.
that's right. And we showed that, and that was why we were very proud of the team that year.
Excellent. Brian, just bringing you back to 1966 when England won the World Cup. You've had the privilege of interviewing the players in that team. Now, did you feel that that particular England team had that fire in the belly as well, and that was the reason why they went on to win?
Yes, for sure. Apart from the fact that they were playing on home ground, and they met West Germany in the in the
In the
final.
final?
That's right. They met West Germany, which and the team was captained by Franz Beckenbauer. Good side, you know. And but England had the best goalkeeper in the world, Gordon Banks. And they were playing on home ground. Their captain was Bobby Moore, and one of their outstanding players was Bobby Charlton. And they had two of the finest fullbacks, and they had Martin Peters and
Jeff
Jeff.
Ernst.
He scored a hat trick in the finals. Yeah, Jeff Hurst and Martin Peters. Yeah, Alan. There was
Alan
a
Ball. Alan
Alan
Ball.
Ball. That's right. Wow, you remember the team? Yeah.
Well, Brian, to be fair, for me, looking back at FIFA World Cup history, 1966 and 1970 were my favorites. Although it
Oh,
was not telecast, so I was just a young boy then. Uh, did you have a favorite World Cup? I mean,
not at
you've
all.
been in, no? Everyone
It,
was special.
it was the 1966 final.
It
When
was
England, it's because England captured the cup and on home ground. So that was the World Cup that I will remember for the rest of my life.
great. So we share we share something quite
Yeah.
similar. Although I would give 1970 the edge when Brazil took the cup for the third time.
Yes, 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 yes. Now that you mentioned that, yeah, I will consider that as one of my all-time favorites, as long as there's Pelé in that team.
What would you say? How high would passions run when you did the commentaries for the Malaysia Cup? Was it Singapore Selangor or was it some other
Yeah,
game that was
yeah, yeah. It was Singapore Penang.
the
Yeah.
finals?
Huh?
Was it the finals of the Malaysia Cup? Or
Not
was it
necessarily.
always Singapore Penang?
No, Singapore Penang is one. Then Singapore Selangor is another one. Continually every year. They may not meet in a final, but even in one of the earlier games, it will be really a hard fought, tooth and nail kind of situation. It's going to be very difficult, and that's the reason why it draws a lot of fans to the national stadium just to watch all these matches.
Brian, sitting in the commentary box, what is it about football that brings the world together? What in your opinion, is it?
Well, that's yeah, yeah. I've got to give this a thought because there are many reasons. Like for example, the Malaysia Cup, we have to talk about history between the Malaysian side and Singapore. You know, and when we talk about history, we're talking about Singapore versus Selangor, or Singapore against Penang. But the other teams also come into contention. Like, for example, if Singapore plays against Johor, that's a game well worth going all the way for, and spending a lot of money, maybe get into a taxi just to be at the Jalan Besar Stadium or the National Stadium to see the teams play. And also for spectators to go there and curse and swear at the referee, the famous referee Caillou and
The
all that.
poor referee
Yeah,
stuck in the
that's
middle.
right. That's right.
Now, Brian, just going away from football, as a commentator of athletics, what would your favorite event be?
Oh yeah, which is my favorite event as well, my speciality, the 400-meter hurdles.
And why do you give that so much importance or
I've
pride
done well
in?
in that event. Yeah. The other two events, which are my speciality, would be the 800 meters and 400 meters. But the 400-meter hurdles, I used to win it. Naturally, it's my
As an
favorite.
athlete?
That's right. And I've been selected to represent Singapore in that event, at the Malaysian Open.
Just switching from sports to music, you were an impressionable teenager when the Beatlemania was the thing in the world.
Mhm.
But your interest in music is far wider, I think. But what was the Beatlemania like, and what was the musical genre you leaned towards too?
It was, I would say, you see, difficult for me to tell you exactly what I like because my favorite music would be everything. And there's no particular favorite, which is mine. But the reason why I say everything is because as a DJ, you're not supposed to, play certain type of music just because you like it. Say pop or rock and roll. You know, there was also, yeah, I would say like, the music of CCR,
Right.
yeah, and a lot of all that is open. Anybody comes to me and say, hey, try this. It's good. It's really good stuff. I would take it. I would try it. I'll put it on the air, on my programs. So my choice of music is always everybody's choice.
Open
And
house.
and you make everybody happy.
That's
Because
right.
if you play only one type of music, either people will either love it or switch off and say, ah, this fella only plays rock and roll, or he only plays, whatever, So no, I enjoy all music, that comes my way.
Well, Brian, that explains your longevity in the music scene. You've been in the music scene for several years, starting out, I think, in Rediffusion, which was cable radio, and
That's
then going on to broadcasting in the mainstream. Um, just going back to your early years, you lived in Singapore's first satellite town, Queenstown. You met a girl there, Suzanne Ong, got married. You have two sons,
Mhm.
Mark and Don, and you have a grandson, Saul, who's training to be an elite athlete. Now, what is Saul doing?
Well, he's you see, in the morning he goes to school, all right, and then lunch, and then in the afternoon he's off to the golf course.
So he's 18 years old, is he, or
18. He's
18?
18.
So he's studying and training to be a golf professional,
That's right. But he'll have to wait. Next year he'll have to wait because he's got to serve national service.
right? Right. We wish Saul the very best in his pursuits.
Yeah,
And I'm sure just like you, Brian, who excelled in sports, and his dad, Mark, who is a well-known in the broadcasting scene, and his uncle Don too in music and broadcasting.
yeah,
I'm sure he will excel too. And like his mom, I believe, who is in theater,
that's right. Beatrice Chia Richmond.
well
Yeah,
known in theater. Yep,
in theater circles. Huh?
yep. Now, Brian, you've been seen and heard by millions. You've earned a long list of achievements and accolades. But what is the one specific thing that you would want to do again, experience again?
Hmm. Can I say everything?
No,
But
that's a very good answer because you have no regrets.
yeah, yeah. Do you
You've
know that
done and
I've
excelled
played,
in
yeah,
everything.
because when I was in school, talk about playing sports and what have you and all that. Besides football and athletics, I was also a hockey player and
Wonderful.
the school team because I know you play hockey.
Yes.
And so just like to, connect with you and just let you know that I was involved in hockey and played left fullback also for combined schools, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other sport was tennis. And yeah, I've played quite a number of sports, where it came to a situation where, when any teacher needs an athlete and all that to play for them, they will come calling on me. Like, for example, in cricket, I was invited by Mr. S. Subramaniam,
The
who,
famous teacher in St. Patrick's School, Singapore.
that's right. Oh, yes, yeah, yeah, you know him?
Yes, yes. I think he's one of those legends.
Yeah, yeah, right. And, whenever I see him coming, I'll try and avoid him because otherwise, it's hey, Brian, you've got to come down for net practice. Net practice, all right. I said, okay, sure, yeah. But that was it. Because for me, I played inter-house, but never for school.
Right,
Because
right.
it was like a boring.
I'm going to ask you a question that's slightly personal, but I think it sort of brings everything together. It brings Brian Richmond together. I think, in my view, um, your father is English, mother Eurasian. You were raised by a mixed Malay family. You
Mhm.
married Chinese. You cut across all identity boundaries. How did you immerse all these influences to be the person you are?
Yeah, I suppose that's the reason why I'm so accepted. All right. In the first place, let me tell you that I never, I never realized that I was almost aborted because my dad, according to my mom, told my mom to have me aborted when it was learned that she was pregnant with me. But no, she never did. That's the reason why I'm talking to you now. And it didn't affect me at all. I mean, some people will say, could it have affected him in any way? No, not at all. Life goes on, and I've got to make the best of it. My father was English. He was head of a company called O'Connor Private Limited, and they do all the sound system and what have you set up, uh, screens, for theater, for cinema. So that was his company, and he was stationed in Kuala Lumpur. My mom, I mean, at that time they were already separated. They divorced, and she had to work. She was working as a secretary, I believe, and she had to make ends meet and look after me. And of course, she couldn't keep me all the time with her. So she met up with his family, the Wahid family, and they were very keen to have me, to look after me. And the family is made up of Beppo Wahid, who came from Cocos Island. And he met his wife. She's a Norwegian lady, and they married and they came to Singapore. The old man came to Singapore to join the British Army. He was a sergeant major in the British Army. And so I lived with them. They looked after me, right up till secondary three, when I was put into St. Patrick's boarding school.
Brian Richmond, thank you very much for sharing with us a very, very personal side of your life. I'm deeply indebted that you have shared this with us. But you've risen above the din. You've risen above and achieved many things that some people can only hope for. You're still the top broadcaster as far as I'm concerned. You're the champion of sports and music, and you'll always be. For many out there who are our viewers and your fans, Brian Richmond is a class act. And I thank you very much, very deeply for sharing your time with On Air with Murali Nair.
Thank you so
Now,
much.
you're welcome, Brian. You're welcome. And now I have to listen to what my producers, Lakshima and Tenzin, have to say. And their words of wisdom is please like, share, and comment on this video.